Hello everyone, so this is a 20 by 30 lot in Newcrest, and basically the idea here is I'm creating a house for a cute little grandma who really just loves to spend time outside. So she downsized and has this cute little garden cottage. So I really quickly sketch out the floor plan as I'm building it, just because that way I know I have room for everything. And it ends up being quite a tiny house. Like, it could definitely be smaller because, like, there's room in the bathroom and such, but it has a very small living space. Mostly because I picture this grandma doing a lot of stuff outside. So I make sure that there's a chimney on top. We have all these cute windows and this cute back porch. I changed the roofing to these cute little shingles, and I was going to use the brick bottom, but I just didn't like the way it looked. So in a second, I just changed it to the straight up siding. And I add this trim over the front of the house just to give it some separation. And then we do the back porch. It's pretty simple. It's just a brick back porch with some simple stairs. Then we go inside. I changed the floor plan slightly just to make a little more room in the living space. And I end up adding this fireplace in here. And eventually when I go back and play test this, I have to shift the fireplace over slightly so that we can use some of the other things in the room. So it has some pretty simple painting inside. We had these cute flower boxes outside because that just seems like something Grandma would have in the front of her house. So the kitchen, I use these cabinets from Parenthood, and I end up wrapping them around into the front of the room and using these so that I can have seating in the room without having to actually put a table. And it works out quite nicely because it creates kind of this seamless one-room flow, even though the kitchen is kind of tucked off to the side. I have these white upper cabinets, which are a different color from the bottom, but I think it makes it look really open. We add these bar stools at the end, some plants on the counter, and some clutter. We end up tucking the trash can up underneath the counter, which I think is a really nice place to put it because if I had a real house, that's where I would put it. And we add this super cute little chef statue because I just think he's adorable. And why wouldn't you want him sitting on the edge of your stove? So I start out with this plant behind the microwave, and I end up switching it for this flowers, which in the end, when I go back and play test, I end up pulling out, just because of the way things ended up working. So I do that, and I add the bread box on top of the microwave, because there's really not a lot of space for it anywhere else. Add this cute rug in there, and then I move on and add the painting. I've come to the conclusion that there's not enough up and down long paintings to hang in a house, especially when you're doing a tiny house and you only have like one tile wide to put a painting. So now I'm going to tuck a desk into this corner, and I originally wanted to try to fit a full-size desk. However, with the fireplace there, it just didn't end up working. So I eventually opt to go with a table, and I choose this cute little tiny table with a table runner because it just kind of looked like a grandma's house thing. And I end up having to go with a small profile chair just because it doesn't fit the room. So I add some paintings on the wall and a lamp on the table. And when I play test, I have to move this lamp because otherwise the computer won't function. Even when I shift the fireplace over some, which I end up having to do, it still won't let me. So I add this painting on the wall, and I add all these cute knickknacks to the fireplace. So we have a plant and a bunny and these couple pictures of fruit, which if we had pictures of like Sims families and such, I think those would be a lot more appropriate because I just pictured that this grandma would definitely have pictures of her family up. So we move into the living room, and I was going to put a lamp behind the couch, but I ended up opting for this table in the corner, kind of like as a behind the couch end table, and I put some candles and a cute cat planner and some flowers on the back. And if there were remotes, that would be something really cool to have to put on the table behind it, but there's not. So then I add this really cool, funky, bright colored chair that came from the movie stuff pack, and I just think it's something really fun in this space because overall everything's this really soft, neutral color palette, and I think that just really adds this pop of color. So on the table we had some tissues and some books, just simple things that you would have on an end table. And I hang up a painting on the wall. I was going to I end up putting a very simple plant on this table, mostly because there's just so much going on. And I realized when I go to take my screenshots later that this painting ends up in the wrong spot somehow, because it looks like it's in the correct spot here. But later on in my screenshots, it's just a little weird. So now I'm trying to find a rug to put in the living room, and I originally wanted it to take up most of the space, but none of them just really looked right. So what I ended up doing was taking this rug and just kind of putting it in the living room side of things, which kind of added a divider between the kitchen, dining area, and the living room. And then I add this cool grate rug underneath the fireplace, because in the real world you'd need something to keep all of the ashes from spreading around the room. I was really hoping there were fireplace tools, but I ended up using this milk jug. And I think it still kind of gives you the idea that there's fireplace tools. So moving into the bedroom, I use this gorgeous bed which matches this wallpaper. And I just use these very simple end tables. And I love these cubbies, which they came from, I think, the toddler stuff pack, which means they're probably designed for children, but I think they're really cute. And it ends up when I playtest it that the cubbies don't work because of all of the clutter on top. However, the dresser wardrobe thing next to it still does, so you still have a dresser in the room. I double up this light because it just makes the bottom look really cool. And I add in this lighthouse, which it just seems like something that would be at someone's grandparents' house. I've been wanting to use it, but I just couldn't decide where. So I put those couple things on the table and I add some art. And what I realized in the end is that I never put a bookshelf in this house anywhere. So underneath this painting that I just put up, I end up raising the painting up and putting a bookshelf there in the end. So this bathroom is huge in comparison to the rest of the house. So we have this nice wide countertop, and there's plenty of room for the shower and the toilet, even with this shelf next to it. So I go ahead and hang a broom up in the bathroom because you need a broom, and that seems like a logical place to keep it. And I add all kinds of clutter on this countertop. Tissues, Q-tips, soap, toothbrushes, this lovely pack with all of the Q-tips and stuff. And then I even add these stacks of towels because Grandma's got to be prepared for whoever shows up. So this gives us 4 extra towels in addition to the ones that are hanging above the toilet and the ones that are in the cabinets next to it. So then I add these flowers, which I absolutely love this painting. It's one of my favorites to use just because the yellow is so bright. And then I do this cool vanity lighting fixture above the mirror, which just looks like something that should belong in a bathroom. So I add some nice spotlights just to make the rooms brighter. Then I'm going to throw up some curtains in the bathroom and in the bedroom. And besides moving some stuff around on the end tables in the bedroom, that basically finishes out the decorating inside the house. Oh yeah, I add a TV in the bedroom. Then I move on outside, and I make sure there's room for Grandma to entertain outside. So we have this cute table and a grill, and it basically just gives a place to sit down and eat outside because there's not really a designated spot for that inside. It's just kind of an extension of the kitchen. So I add a couple rugs in the bathroom, in the bedroom, and eventually outside, and a plant, just making it seem a little more lived in. So now I'm moving on to the garden space outside because Grandma definitely loves the outside. And here I add the wash basin, but because I never remembered to put a hamper anywhere, nor did I end up adding a clothesline, I end up taking it out when I playtest. So you can always go back in and add in the wash basin and the clothesline and find somewhere to put a hamper in that bathroom because there's more than enough room in the bathroom for a hamper. I just didn't think about it. So we have our chess table outside and our bees, and I was originally going to make this like a dirt garden area, but I eventually ended up covering it in the gravel and adding a fountain in the middle, and just because it makes it look a lot cleaner. Because these paths I wasn't feeling them. So we add this cute fountain in the middle. We make a gravel path. So it's kind of like this really large outside patio living area, which definitely fits the personality that I expect the person who lives here to have. So we add all these wildflowers around the fountain, which just kind of makes this cute little center area inside of the garden. And then all of these plants underneath the trees. So she has a flower bed in the back. She has a flower bed around the fountain. She has a flower bed in the corner in a second once I'm done editing the patio. We put a flower bed in the back next to the chess table, just because I kind of felt like the chess table was way in the back with nothing else around it, and it kind of seemed like the yard just stopped there for no reason. So I ended up adding that cute little flower bed, and then I added this flower bed at the front with this pretty rose bush and all of these plants. All of these plants. I spent a long time adding plants to this house just because I felt like it really matched the personality of the person who should be living here in my mind. And now I know most of these plants would probably never be together in the real world, but they look so bright and colorful and pretty. So I also add a flower bed in the front of the house just because it looks so blank over here now with all of the flowers on the other side. So we add all of these flowers in front of the house. Like I said, there's a lot of flowers in this house. Tons of flowers. And so we finish up this flower bed. We add a couple more trees in the yard. And then we end up adding a red maple right in the very front of the house, which I just added that tree because I love that tree. Also, it reminds me of my grandmother who had one of those trees in her backyard. So it just seemed like something that would definitely belong in a grandma's house. So we add some dirt around the trees, and then we go ahead and put our mailbox in. And that's basically all I'm going to do. I add a trash can in the back, and that's it. So here are some screenshots of the house. And clearly it is fall, so there's all the leaves on the ground, and it's Harvest Fest, so there's these banners up. The flower arrangement table is clearly functional, and it's so cute when Grandma goes and uses it. Everything ended up looking so cute. So thanks for watching.